Hello, everyone. We are 3 gigs, 3 guys in glasses, Craig, Paul, and Jim. And we're here to kind of just share our, what we call scar tissue, and that's years of construction experience and going through problems. And today we're going to be talking about RFIs. It's called a request for information. So, Craig, Paul, what is an RFI?
It's a request for information.
Oh, I love it. I already said it. Man, but I led
All right,
you
let's
to
move
the
on.
answer. Yeah.
Next.
Yeah.
It's a question. It's usually a contractor who's trying to build something, and they're looking at something in the drawing, it doesn't make sense, or they're missing something to be able to put together, so they ask a question.
So it's kind of like a formal inquiry on this set of drawings.
It's on the set of drawings or on the spec. It has to do with what they're building. It doesn't have to do with what's for lunch.
Yeah.
Is there going to be a company party?
So it's something you might put in writing and send to somebody else to
send it to an architect. If it's a contractor, well, a subcontractor might send it to a general contractor.
Yeah.
And the general contractor might answer it. Or the general contractor might turn around and send it to the architect, and then the architect would answer it. Or the architect might turn around and send it to the structural engineer, have the structural engineer answer it, tell the architect makes sure that they're on board with what the structural is saying, and then they respond back to the contractor.
These are usually used as a way to clarify mistakes or even voids in the construction documents. So most often it will be on a contract or design issue. Again, not a logistical kind of issue. They can go any direction, but most often it'll be from the contracting community up to the design community.
And so when it goes full cycle, it kind of becomes a part of the contract.
Yeah.
Right?
Although it's not a contract document.
Yeah.
The timeliness of it could be a contract issue.
Yeah.
If you're remiss in doing them, there is language in contracts that talk about asking and knowing and timely response. The document itself isn't a contract document.
But that also then brings it to another point. When is a good time to submit an RFI? Right? When's the best time?
Sooner the better.
Yeah.
You cannot be too early. If you just are starting, ideally you've got your subs digging into it, so your framer, who might be 6 months away, hopefully your framer is digging into it and sending you RFIs, and you are sending those RFIs up to the designers, and it's 6 months before the framer even shows up.
What happens if I delay in writing an obvious RFI?
Well, if you think about it, if you're out in the field and actually the framer's framing something and he needs a response to what kind of bucket or structural attachment do I take these 2 pieces of wood and how do I attach them? And I'm waiting.
Right.
Well, and the architect gets 5 days or 10 days to respond. That might put a problem.
So we could actually end up with delays on the project if we don't
submit them
timely.
Right.
What are some of the key components of a good RFI? Let's say if we're going to write the perfect RFI, how would we instruct somebody to do that? Right? I mean,
You want to go, contractor?
Sure, yeah. I think a perfect RFI, it tells the architect, here's the drawing that I'm looking at, A 2.0, and I need clarity on this attachment, and I can't find it in either the architecturals or the structural drawings.
or in the specs.
Yeah, or in the specifications, that's right. And here's what I think should be here. So there's a suggested response, so that professional who has more experience in that specific trade than maybe the architect does designing it can tell you, here's what I think would work.
Right. And here's how it's going to impact the schedule.
Yes.
So
yeah.
this is attached to an item on the critical path, and I need the answer by X.
X date, and it's whether there's a potential cost impact or not, right?
And or time.
That'd be the perfect RFI.
And just to illuminate a little bit what the point you made about have a solution or have something there, it should be acceptable, and in my world, it's rarely not acceptable. It's thumbs up. If what you say in your RFI is, the drawings show us digging this hole this way, is it okay if we dig it this way? And does that still work within the intention of the design, or this or that?
Yeah.
You know, a lot of times an RFI is, I know how you want us to do it, but we would like to do it a different way. Do you take an issue with that? Because a lot of times, you know, the architect's not perfect. The structural engineer is not perfect. Those subcontractors who do this day in and day out, 365 days out of the year, can look at something and go, you know, there's a lot easier way of doing that. Why don't you ask an RFI and see if we can do it the easy way?
There you go.
In fact, I kind of like to think of the RFI as the punch list for the design team.
Yeah.
Right? It's a way in which the contracting community comes in and creates the punch list to tighten up the design. We could almost call it design finalization, or design.
I like punch list.
Well, it is. It is. That's exactly what it is.
Yeah.
And then the last thing that I would want to mention is that we're always trying to make sure that we have shown the problem in the drawings.
Yeah.
Or we can't just write an RFI that will get one of the two dreaded answers. Right?
So that's perfect. What is that? What are the best practices for an RFI? What do we really want to make sure? What itch needs to get scratched?
Yeah.
Earlier is always better than later.
Right.
Yeah. I liked your example about the framer. He's digging into those drawings before he's even mobilized on the site. He's going through them and picking out all the things that he knows could be a problem in the field later. He's getting answers to them.
Clear, concise question. Roll the question up into
one question.
And one question per RFI, and make sure that you roll it up into a good, concise question. Let all the detail follow or show up as an attachment, but write a question that can be read by even a non-professional in the trade.
Right.
Yeah.
I'll tell you, I think the biggest remission in my projects, and I am constantly on the calls, and a contractor will say, well, what do we want to do about this, or what do we want to do about that? And I am constantly saying, put that in an RFI.
Right, exactly.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
I don't want this conversation to happen.
Yeah.
Well, put it in an RFI, because then we can all track it and
Exactly
we can
right.
all see
So
what's
we're going to call that a confirming RFI. I'll restate what we talked about in that meeting,
Yes.
and I will say, please confirm that my understanding of this is correct.
Confirming
So now it's on.
RFIs are huge.
Right.
They again, you're not breaking the rules to say, here's what I think I heard you say, this is what we're going to do. Is that right?
Right. So then the next best practice is to track these RFIs, or to have a place where we can track them in a good RFI log, so that everyone will see the status, what's being done, where they are, why they aren't being answered if they aren't, and the impact it's going to have on the schedule.
Yeah. Tracking all the consultants or whomever is responsible for answering those in a timely manner to keep the job moving. That's really the kind of the crux of it, is these keep the job moving.
Okay. All right. Well, we're the 3 gigs. This is a short, and trust me, this is short. We have to have notes just to not talk. Otherwise, this
Speak
would
for
be,
yourself. No, that's true.
This would be a 45-minute video, and we're trying to keep this, concise and to the point.
So if you want more, maybe look for one of our longs, right? That would actually develop this topic a little more.
Right. And the intent is just that. These, in our long talks, we inevitably come up with terms, and then the question is, maybe people don't really know what those terms are. So today was RFIs. Thank you for watching, and see you next time.
Don't forget to like and subscribe.